समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या? समझ में नहीं आया।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme related documents carefully.
Many of you are familiar with the metaphor writings on the wall. That's the name of a series that I write. However, there are always new listeners, new viewers, new readers. So it's important for me to explain what the concept is. Writings on the wall is a metaphor that emerged from travels across the subcontinent, particularly not necessarily through elections. Zip across the cities and fast urbanizing countryside, neither rural nor urban nor urbanizing countryside. Your eyes, ears and mind wide open, and it's the writing on the walls or what echoes of them, what echoes of the walls that tells you what is changing and what isn't. It tells you that change in India never slackens, never fails to surprise you, particularly how logically our people have moved from grievance to aspiration and now to assertion and ambition. So in the poorest India, such as in Bihar, circa 2005, nothing was selling on the walls because nobody had the money to buy anything. 5 years later, 5 years of rapid growth later, that is Nitish 1, Nitish 1.0, आजकल का फैशन तो 1.0 है. Nitish 1.0, after his rapid growth, that rapid growth over 5 years and the return of the rule of law under Nitish, and the walls were selling branded underwear and English medium school education. Those are things that we noted in the earlier episodes of Writings on the Wall, which I converted into video versions for you and which many of you have watched. By the time of the 2014 parliamentary elections, the hottest selling item were coaching classes for IIT, JEE and medical entrance examinations. That is also Writings on the Wall, which I will present to you in a day. This progression up to the value chain was fully reflected in the electoral fortunes. The first election in 2005 was inconclusive. It banished Lalu Prasad Yadav from power after 15 years of misrule, despite his ossified OBC Muslim vote bank, which he still has, although OBC has got divided up. He's got the Yadavs with him. Many of the others have walked across to the other side. But he didn't quite give Nitish a majority. But that first election in 2005 didn't quite give Nitish a majority. It got Lalu out but did not give Nitish a majority. The second election in the same year was more decisive. That's when Lalu's call to season your lathis in oil, apni lathi ko tel pilao, as a slogan for another battle for empowerment was lost to the Nitish Kumar counter, which was times when soaking lathis in oil got you empowerment are now over. Now you have to get it. You have to get empowerment by filling your pens with ink. Nitish in power kept his promise and after 5 years of growth was rewarded with a mandate nobody in Indian democracy had got until the Aam Aadmi Party swept Delhi elections later. He had read the writing on the wall and tailored his message accordingly. Lalu chose to stay frozen and paid the price for it. The other marker we brought back from that first election travel in Bihar in 2005 was how many people walked barefoot. By 2010, this had changed dramatically at a Sonia Gandhi rally in Begusarai. I actually walked through the crowd looking for bare feet. While I did spot a few, these belong to people who were carrying their footwear, so it doesn't get lost. Mostly Chinese flip-flops, chappals in their hands, not willing to risk losing them in the crush. Chappals on your feet, decent branded underwear, that was 2010. This episode is from 2015. In 2015, there is a new marker of change and upward mobility, the smartphone. At Lalu's rally in Meena Bazar near Muzaffarpur, Nitish's in Jhanjharpur in distant north, you see hundreds of faces, curious, focused, smiling, holding up smartphones recording videos of their leaders as they speak. There are smartphones at Narendra and Sushil Kumar Modi's rallies too, but Lalu Nitish have a poorer, less literate, lower caste, rural vote bank. If even that Bihar has now moved on from dragging bare feet to shooting videos with smartphones, you know India's poorest large state. Bihar constitutes about 9% of India's population, today maybe about 10%, but contributes only about 3% to India's GDP. It has undergone a quiet, peaceful revolution. That is something we noted 10 years after Nitish Kumar. It has seen phenomenal growth rates, a boom in agriculture, even in that drought year in 2015, even in that drought year, all you can see are endless fields of bountiful ripening paddy interspersed with clumps of arhar, tur or pigeon pea dal. From being an area of darkness, literally more than 90% of Bihar is now electrified. 2015 now almost 100% is getting a decent 16 to 22 hours of power. When we first spotted the signs of resurgence in Nitish's Bihar in 2010, it's nearly 10 crore people still consumed the same amount of power that Gurgaon, now called Gurgaon, consumed then. Today, it is 4 times as much, nearly 4,000 megawatts, that is 2015. Now it's much more than that. The IAS officer Nitish assigned to bring about this change, Pratyay Amrit, talks with passion about the changed attitude of his staff, customers, billing and collecting his dues on replacing old, small and good-for-nothing transformers, which my chief minister mocks as Tulu transformers, he said, and then he tells you, Pratyay Amrit tells you something civil servants or even ordinary citizens would rarely say to you. In government, let me tell you, everything is not lost. Nitish Kumar's signature scheme, free bicycles to girls going from class 8 to 9 transitioning, later extended to boys as well, continues to be a hit. Meanwhile, he has launched another imaginative initiative to provide sanitary pads to rural girls, village girls through self-help groups. Arun Jaitley famously said that elections are not about arithmetic but about chemistry. His party president Amit Shah, then president, elaborated on the formula when he said that mix of hydrogen and oxygen gets you water. In Bihar, I would extend it further to say that elections here in 2015 are about trigonometry, as 2 formidable triangles represented by Mahagathbandhan, the Grand Alliance, and the NDA clash. Nitish's JDU, Lalu's RJD and Congress form the 3 sides of the first triangle. BJP, Jitan Ram Manjhi and Ramvilas Paswan make up the second. Each of the 6 sides brings its own pluses and minuses. For Nitish, Lalu brings a formidable, remember 2015 Nitish and Lalu were together. For Nitish, Lalu brings a formidable anchor caste, vote bank in Yadavs, helps give Muslims a clearer choice along with Congress, but also diminishes his claim, Nitish's claim, and promise of good governance. In fact, Lalu's presence scares many of his supporters and hands the NDA its best weapon in the campaign, the threat of a return to Lalu's quote-unquote Jungle Raj. Similarly for the BJP, Paswan and Manjhi promise, remember this episode of Writings on the Wall is from 2015, from the 2015 campaign. Similarly, then for the BJP, Paswan and Manjhi promise of a sizable bonus of Dalit and Mahadalit votes because they have those vote banks, but also brings negatives. Paswan has kept dodgy company with criminal sub-regional leaders. His son Chirag and a brother are already MPs, and he has fielded 2 sons-in-law and 1 nephew on his ticket. So this is really a family campaign, family party. And this is negating the impact of the BJP's dynastic rule rant against Lalu Yadav. In fact, his sons-in-law's cars with his party's symbol bungalow perched on the rooftop are a source of much ridicule in the state. Manjhi is useful, Dalit leader Manjhi is useful, but his presence is one more reason why the party has shied away from naming a chief ministerial candidate. This should explain why we call it a study in trigonometry rather than arithmetic or chemistry. 2 triangles. Fortified by Lalu's transferable vote, Nitish should have done all right, but he is now a victim of his own success. His 10 years have given Bihar growth, but his electorate, particularly the younger section, Bihar, by the way, is India's youngest state, it still is today, it has moved ahead of him. The writing on the wall reflects something contradictory and sobering to the move from bare feet to smartphones, where once we saw such writings selling English medium education, top competitive examination, the reality of poor quality education. A non-industrialized, non-job creating state now stares at you in what is now sold more than anything else, competitive exams. That tells you this is a non-industrialized, non-job creating state. So largest selling item on the walls is competitive exams, but all for, or most of them for low value clerical jobs. Go with your eyes shut on any street in any rotting Bihar city. That is any Bihar city, regrettably. And 3 words, and then open your eyes and you will find 3 words: banks, SSC, railways, leap out at you. These are from academies preparing students for clerical jobs in nationalized banks, railways and subordinate services commission. The IIT IAS dreams are confined to very few in a rapidly but poorly educated young population. When there was no education, the same young Biharis were happy to be in villages or migrate elsewhere in the country to work as security guards. Actually was an improvement over casual labor. But now, having had some taste of education, they want better jobs, ideally white collar. However, neither the quality of their education nor the mostly agrarian economy of their state can promise them anything better than a clerk's life. So clerk's life is a dream. Here too, as one young person after another tells you, railways have frozen recruitments. So भाई साहब आप बताएं हम जाए कहाँ? Just like his successes, Nitish's failures too are formidable. 2015 I'm talking about. He has taken them a step ahead and brought in, to coin a new term out of the Congress party's sad old povertarianism, agro-povertarianism. Bihar's agriculture has improved. You now see tractors with seed drills here and there, poultry farms, shops stacked with fertilizer and hybrid seeds in village shops, but nothing else has improved with the economy. It is as if the villages have become a little better, or let's say less worse, but the cities have worsened greatly. The cities have really rotted, and they are still rotting. Driving a couple of 1,000 kilometers from the west to the east in the state, you see no signs of a modern manufacturing or services economy. You can drive hundreds of kilometers, and the only industry you would see is of brick kilns that pollute, consume fertile soil and provide just a few jobs at the lowest level and exploitative end of the value chain. In fact, they involve a lot of bonded labor as well. You could charge Nitish with agro-povertarianism because in 10 years, remember this was written in 2015 in that campaign. In 10 years, Nitish has brought no landmark progress in his state. No industry, no investment, no big educational institution. Even Nalanda hasn't progressed, the university. His capital is a dump. Patna, I said, is a dump. It's better now in 2025. It's better. 2015 it was still a dump. Not one decent branded hotel till 2015 that a prospective investor could come and use. Though there is a shopping mall with a bowling alley and a mainland China restaurant. His capital's airport is among the most dangerous in the world, and he hasn't even had the courage to acquire a little land to extend its short runway. The terminal is as it was 2 decades ago. Now there is a new one. In 2015, it was the same as it was 2 decades ago, falling apart. While no manufacturing has come to Bihar, Nitish's bias against services is evident in how so little has been done to build even on the Gaya-Bodh Gaya circuit. Gaya can compete to be among India's dirtiest towns, and much of its competition would probably come from within Bihar itself. Just walk the streets of Darbhanga at night, as I did. They are too congested and too crowded to walk during daytime. In fact, you hop from one garbage heap to another, pass herds of stray cows and bulls, dogs in wolf packs, even horses forage the rubbish for food, and your nostrils burn with stench as well as diesel and kerosene fumes. The Lalu model, do nothing for the state but ride empowerment of the caste and underclass, worked in the past. Nitish has managed to trap himself into a contradiction, done a lot for the state, made people expect much more, and then stopped short of genuine modernization. You can see that he has figured it out now. He's breaking away from Lalu in his campaign, promising computer training and English education, particularly to Dalits and Mahadalits. Not knowing English, he says, is giving his people an inferiority complex. And no education is of any use these days unless you learn to use computers. The point is it too late? I like to quote often from a speech that former US Secretary of State George Shultz once made, famously predicting globalization. He said 3 inventions, the microchip, satellite, and the wide-bodied jet, were making the world a smaller place. The equivalent of these 3 in rural and urban India now are the smartphone, motorcycle, and cheap college education, even if of indifferent quality. The first gives you connectivity, the second mobility, and the third a degree of social equality and caste anonymity. That's a classroom. This is a post-ideological, impatient generation that prefers first names and does not feel encumbered by caste loyalties or parental preferences. They are inclined to look at elections much more as a transactional phenomenon. What are you going to do for me? They are bored with old politics, even in Bihar, where it's as much of a passion as cricket all over India. I see now, reading the walls at Jhanjharpur in northern Mithilachal, this is 2015 again, where Nitish's rally is held in a stadium named jointly after Lalit Narayan Mishra and Karpuri Thakur, 2 old stalwarts who fought on opposite sides for almost 2 decades. It was inaugurated jointly by Nitish Kumar and Sushil Kumar Modi when they were cabinet colleagues. Now, of course, they are rivals. I try chatting up some young people on this brilliant set of concentric political ironies in one place, but they are bored. They want to know why Bihar can't build a Gurgaon or do what exactly Modi has done in Gujarat. Why are we journalists so obsessed with caste? They say Modi is so confident despite being a chaiwala's son. They say he has enhanced India's global status, made our armies much stronger. The young prefer Modi. This is the reading from 2015. The most important thing the writings on the wall in Bihar tell you is the new gen backward caste Indian thinks like the forward castes once they are empowered by some education and technology. This young voter is speaking out of the dugout and is happy to give someone new a chance. एक बार देकर देखते हैं इनको भी. This voter doesn't see this election as a make or break, as the voter might see a dozen more in their life, as the voters might see a dozen more in their lives. Modi's appeal cuts with this generation, and if these voters come out in large enough numbers on the polling day, they could alter the arithmetic, chemistry, and even the trigonometry of Bihar politics. Essentially, this Bihar contest is a clash between 2 decelerating forces. Narendra Modi as the Vikas Purush of 2014 and Mandalite Muslim vote bank politics of Lalu Yadav. The result will tell us which one has slowed down more, but whether Nitish and Lalu lose, remember they were together then, this is 2015, whether Nitish and Lalu lose or win, the decline of caste-based empowerment politics now looks irreversible with the rise of a generation that uses mostly, if not only mostly, its first name. And there is a postscript to this episode as well. Narendra Modi has latched on to great ideas in cleanliness and ending open defecation. But I wonder if it would be possible unless we somehow get rid of our cultural, traditional tolerance for shit, faces, crap, refuse, whatever synonym you prefer, whether human or bovine, in our households and around them. Our society has the unique and embarrassing distinction of having the highest incidence of open defecation in the world. This is before the big ODF program was launched by Modi government. Much higher than Pakistan or Bangladesh, much worse than Pakistan or Bangladesh. I suspect it has something to do with the glorification of dung. Gobar, dung as clean, utilitarian natural resource rather than looking at it for what it is. It is bullshit. It can be used as a manure, but why not bury it in a pit to compost rather than leave it exposed in heaps along village streets? Why heap dung cakes? Why heap dung cake walls Why heap dung cake on walls behind which you live? If you accept one kind of fecal matter so willingly in your homes, you find it convenient to leave the other kind outside your homes, or maybe outside your neighbor's home, or at least just beyond the periphery of your village. Why waste time, money and water on toilets when you can just throw it away? I know it is dangerous in these times to question the miraculous qualities of anything the cow gifts us. But crap is the natural pan-national smell in much of rural India, and unless you unlearn the unquestioning acceptance of one kind of crap, you will be more tolerant of the other. My travels through Bihar only confirm my belief in this poop sociology. And remember, once again, this was 2015. Things have changed since, so wait for my writings on the wall from this election campaign.